Hi guys, I'm Victoria Bond and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Today I want to have a talk to you about spirits. Not the drinking type, the ghost type. I want to have a talk to you about ghosts and hauntings and entities and attachments and all of that type of stuff that you're probably going, this stuff is a little bit scary, because most people do. Even the spiritual people who talk to the spirits and ghosts kind of get a little bit scared sometimes. So I'm here to tell you why you should not be afraid of ghosts. There is nothing to fear. The first thing I want to say to you is you have a body, obviously, because you are watching this and you have a body. There's probably plenty of people around right now that don't have bodies that are watching this also going, woo! Tell them that we're not scary. Guys, what would happen if we took away your body right now? What would happen if you dropped dead? What would happen? I mean, no one really knows, do they? But from my own knowing, I can tell you that you still exist. You just wouldn't have this dense body that's full of blood and bones and organs. You would still be here, but not in a dense form. Now, as a little girl, I was saying this to my sister the other day, and I used to be petrified there was something in my closet. I was brought up in the belief system of there's a devil and there was a God and a heaven and a hell, and whether that's true or not, who knows? What do you know about that? But I was petrified that if I was a naughty girl, I was going to go to hell. And I was also petrified there was something in my closet. So if I could go back and tell that little girl, Victoria, that there was nothing to be afraid of, I would. Because the thing is, if we don't have a body, we still exist. So, do you ever just think about a grandparent that may have passed, or a parent that may have passed, or a friend that may have passed? Or do you ever just see a random face in your head? Or you may hear something. Like you may actually hear a voice like, you need to go do that now, don't forget. But you're like, wow, I'm pretty sure that wasn't me. Or you might smell something that reminds you of a scenario when you were 12 years old with grandparents. Or you may smell a perfume and go, wow, that's so nice. I wonder whose that is. And you haven't left your office. So these are all different ways that we can perceive a spirit. Now, I've always been told that I'm a medium. And I always thought, I'm not gifted. That was my great-grandmother who was. But that's because I was thinking that to be a medium, you would have to be able to see spirit with your eyes, look straight at them and go, oh, right, so you want to talk to Sophie. Great. Okay, you tell me where Sophie is. And then you're having this kind of like dialogue with an actual spirit. And yes, sometimes that can happen with people, but majority of the time it's not. That's not how most people perceive. So children quite often will say, hey, there's a little girl in my room, and you go, oh, it's just your imaginary friend. It is not an imaginary friend, people. It is actually a little spirit that has probably kind of like decided that they really like that little girl and they want to go home with them from kindy and play. And your little daughter is kind of like, yeah, cool, this is my little friend. And the friend doesn't leave because the friend isn't helped to leave, so the friend just stays, just like a little girl would be waiting until mum came to pick her up if it was on a play date. So what I do is I help clear those spirits. My little girl has said to me before that there is children in her room. And I'm open with her, but I don't go encouraging to talk about spirits and stuff because I don't want to put stuff in her head. I want her to find out the stuff for herself, and I'm always an open book when she wants to talk about it. So anyway, long story short, I said to her, okay, who are these children in your room? Can you see them? She goes, no. Can you hear them? No. How do you know they're there? She goes, because I just know. And that is perceiving. As children, we do not have a fixed point of view on what a spirit is, a ghost is. We haven't watched horror movies yet, And unless, you know, your parents let you when you're really little, and I hope they didn't. And so what we do is basically our brains are wired different. All the different chemicals for survival haven't kind of popped in like they do when we kind of hit about 6 or 7. That starts to kind of kick in, and we start forgetting about that part of us and trying to learn our alphabet and read and write and focus on what we're told to focus on. But what would life be like if we were actually taught to interact with the energy beings around us and to have relationships with them? Now, the day before was a fantastic day for me. What happened was I started writing a book. I was getting flooded with ideas, and I was just being talked to the whole time. Can I hear what they're saying? No, I can't, but it's kind of busy. You know, when you just feel busy, you're like, oh my God, I'm so busy right now. That's spirit, and they're on a different frequency. So it's like literally that radio, you know, when you're going between towns and the mountains and you can't get that station. It's like that. So you kind of go, okay, what are you trying to say? And ask a direct question. You'll get a yes or a no. And you might see it like yes in your head, or no. Or John, or you get a name, or you might get a song and it repeats over and over and over and over, and then you have to listen to the lyrics or ask someone, who does this song belong to? And they go, oh, it's my uncle, and you're like, okay, I have a message. And the way that comes through can be feeling, or you may just start seeing colour pop up everywhere, the same colour, and that colour may represent something to you. So perceiving is just like, as you can see, I'm jumping here because there's just so much to say. Now, that day was amazing for me because, like I said, I had a lot of stuff coming in. I was just sitting down writing like it wasn't even me. It was just like intensity. And then someone reminded me it was actually my grandfather's birthday. And it was also the day that they were going to be burying his ashes. So I went, oh, that was my granddad. My granddad has just recently passed. It's only a few months ago. So his frequency, it was still kind of, like I said, it was like I didn't know what was happening. It was just busy, where I know that my other grandfather, who passed over 20 years ago, I see him clearer in my mind. So if I say to both my granddads, step forward so I can see you, and I'm looking in with my head, I can see the one who passed 20 years ago when I was only, I don't know, like 15. And I see him clear as day. I can smell him. I can sit on his knee. I can go right back to when I was a child. But my grandfather, who just passed recently, I can barely see him in my head. And I spent so much time with him last year. If I ask the grandfather who passed away a long time ago a question, so this is like you're imagining it. So you feel like you're a fool. You feel like you're lying because you're like, oh my gosh, I just made that up. But how much in your life are you making stuff up that you're not really? It's actually real. So yeah, I'll ask a question to my granddad, Dinansky, and I'll say, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll get a yes or a no or a feeling. I get lots of feeling. I'm very empathic. And then if I ask my other granddad, it's like it's hard, like it's trying to hear him and you can't. It's a bit frustrating. So now I just go with feeling from him. So I can feel the hug. I can feel him holding my hand, or I can just see him smiling at me. And when he smiles at me, I'm just like, oh, there he is. And he'll throw a memory at me because that's the easiest way for him to connect. So how do we perceive? There's also synchronicities and signs. Now, a synchronicity is, okay, good story. My friend, I was doing my friend's hair, and I was talking about her nana who just passed, who she was very fond of. She was the favorite granddaughter. And I said, do you have a sign from your grandma? Do you have a sign so you know that she's there with you? And she said, oh, no, I don't know. I've never been brought up with this stuff. I've only learned from you. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it could be like a flower or a butterfly or a feather or a smell. And these things just make you feel your nana's presence. And she went, oh, not really. And I go, oh, okay. So there's like no flowers, or she was like, oh, I don't really know. I'm talking. And I'd be like, oh, okay. So flowers. So it's like, did she like flowers? And I'm like, Okay, stop. I've just said flowers to you like 10 times. Was there something to do with flowers? Do you see what's happening here? And she looked at me like, oh no, Victoria's going crazy. And I go, look, she's telling me I'm pretty sure she's here and there's something to do with flowers. And she goes, oh, well, actually, my auntie just gave me back this rose because my grandma gave me the rose and it started to die. So my auntie got it and she's made it better. Now she's given it back. And funnily enough, yesterday my husband gave me a rose for the first time ever. And when we got a delivery, the delivery man left a rose on top of the parcel. And and it was like all these different things. And I went, oh, really? And she just went, oh, and I go, do you see what I mean? That's a synchronicity. I mean, that's quite a complicated one. But I was like, okay, so roses. Roses are her thing, right? And she's just like, oh my gosh, she loved her roses. That day, she went from me to pick up her child from kindy, and there was a rose in the little jar on the food table. And then she went to her sister-in-law's, and she was telling her sister-in-law about the story, going, oh my gosh, and the roses and da da da. And then her sister-in-law said, look at your cup. And on her cup was roses. So, that was really, really funny. And it can easily slip your mind. So it's about being aware and open to see the signs, which we may call coincidences sometimes. A synchronicity is kind of also, when the phone rings and it's someone that you have been thinking about and they were in your dream, and lots of different things will happen which are the kind of the same. So you meet up with someone and someone was just talking about that person, you're meant to catch up, and then you've got something in common and it all kind of flows. So it doesn't just work with spirit, it actually works with life. So there's also the signs, like I was saying, the feathers and the flowers and the butterflies, and people go, oh yeah, they're just everywhere. But that's how spirit communicates, by showing you something that really resonates. One of my girlfriends, I was talking to her and I said, I just did a reading for a friend and it was really potent. She goes, oh, is there anything for me? And I said, look, I'm sorry, but I've got to work at the moment, so I'll talk to you later. Next minute, spirit comes flooding in. My whole entire office is just full. And I was like, oh, I can't work like this. I've got to tell her. So I got on my phone and I said, hey, I think your father is here. But did he have a beard, a long beard? Because I was trying to piece the puzzle of what I could see in my head. And what I could see was Santa, but I didn't want to say Santa because Santa is that's just a bit weird. Is he Santa? So I thought, no, Spirit's just giving me this image. So I need to decipher it. So I was like, right, does he have a beard? And she's like, no. I'm like, does he have white hair? And she's like, well, yes. I'm like, okay. Right. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting these feelings about how he loved you as a little girl and how he still sees you as a little 3-year-old. And I got the feelings of love and emotion because that's the way I work. But because I can see a little bit, I went, okay, and the last thing I'm going to throw out, just to be funny, is all I can see is Santa. And the next minute, she burst out crying and she said, Victoria, that means everything to me. And I went, what do you mean? And she goes, he always dressed up as Santa every single year and we just missed it because this is the first year we didn't have it. And I went, oh, wow. The next minute in my head, I see Santa taking off his outfit and her dad standing there like, hi. And I was like, whoa, he's pretty good looking, isn't he? Because he's just taken off the Santa outfit. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, whoa. So Santa is probably going to be her thing. So if she's aware enough, then literally if her dad wants to come through, then she'll be in her office and then there'll be something that reminds her of Christmas or Santa or a Santa hat. The kids will walk in with a Santa hat. And the spirit, time and space is nothing for them. That's why a lot of the time people don't sleep, which we'll go into. But time and space is nothing. So they can literally organize a whole lot of different things. So then when the time comes, you're like, the kid walks in with the Santa hat or the Santa sack, and there's a Santa song randomly in July on the radio, and it might be on his anniversary or something. So that's like a synchronicity. So yeah. And finally, I want to talk to you about sleep. Because what happens at night as we go to sleep, and the next minute we're like, boing, zzz, oh my God, why can't I stop? When we finally lie down at night and we finally relax, what happens is the spirit's like, oh, she can perceive, or he can perceive, and they basically start going, hey, hey, hey. You know, and if you've ever been to a platform reading from a really, you know, a famous medium or anything, you would actually notice that what they do is they will be like, okay, right, so your Auntie Jo is here, and she is, you know, she just wants to say I'm sorry, or I love you, or I'm always with you. And you know what? Auntie Jo has probably been trying to get that through for 20 years. So anyway, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. This has gone way over. I hope it makes some sense, and I'll catch you later. Bye.